Fires of Magic, Rise of Spider-Man. 39, Truth Behind Honesty. 18 days remain. Too long! I swear, my time would be better spent if I was telling you my adventures while playing a Spider-Man game. Peter scaled over the rooftops of the castle, mind racing over what the others had told him. He practically saw his entire life. Shaking his head, the stallion cursed his luck. Whether it was by accident or subconscious decision, he had to live with the outcome. Peter let out a sigh before stopping dead in his tracks. It happened to be on the other side of the wall. While it was a difficult pill to swallow, he could rest easy knowing the ones he trusted the most were the ones to learn the truth instead of an enemy. If he didn't trust them, he wouldn't have shown him anything. So, moot point. Peter's brow furrowed in late realization. There'd be no time to worry about his own problems later. Right now, he had to find Applejack. From what Peter had gathered, the blonde missed the entirety of the show. By remembered rarity, staying Applejack and left suddenly after seeing what happened to Uncle Ben. Moving on to the highest vantage point in the castle, Peter folded his hose under his chest as he stood on top of a flagpole, displaying his excellent sense of balance. The wind brushed his unkempt mane and tail about. The stallion remained undeterred, scanning the inside and outside of his surroundings. Applejack was not one so easily shaken. Peter had a sneaky suspicion about what may have disturbed her so deeply. After all, his adopted sister, Applebloom, left him with a blatant clue. Scratching the underside of his chin, all the stallion had to do now was discover Applejack's whereabouts. Without magic, she couldn't teleport anywhere. Since of courtesy, she would not have gone too far without telling some pony. Peter's wise eyed as an idea came to mind. Without being frozen persistent and descending into a free fall, Stallion knew where to travel, and he even when wits an earth pony could escape to. Applejack sat with her head in a hose hanging over a fountain, the only companies he had being her own reflection in the water. Some time had passed, but the mare's hood did not move in the slightest, the brain remaining as melancholic as the milky orb perched in the black sky. The ache in her chest refused to leave, and the image of Pierre holding his dying uncle only added to the pain. Tears dropped from her face, landing onto the fountain, but this had been going on for an hour, leaving the farm pony to stop caring about hiding them. No pony was in the courtyard, as it was said to have been a hideaway spot for Princess Luna. The area wasn't restricted. The guards were just wary of the Moon Maiden. Oh, for crying out loud! Again with that? If this is set out to Sombra, then everybody's gotten used to Luna! This gave Applejack the perfect reason to retreat to this location, giving her time to clear her head without making a scene in front of any pony. Many flowers and small trees planted throughout the vicinity, the courtyard could have been mistaken for a makeshift forest. Applejack shivered involuntarily as a small trail of wind brushed through her unshielded golden mane. She reached over the fountain for her hat, but after a few clumsy attempts, Applejack turned, finding her favorite headpiece was missing. Had a feeling you'd be here, Applejack. Peter called out from behind, sending a wave of shock through the mare's torso. She jumped, finding the stallion perched on the wall with her hat over his mane. He flipped over from his position and landed a few hoof lengths from the blonde. Took off the mare's hat before extending it over in an apologetic manner. So how are you holding up? His voice was soft, offering no humor. Agitated, Applejack snatched her hat away from the stallion to her head. No pony asked you to follow me. She turned back, taking a moment to wipe her face of her tears, but the task proved tedious. I know, but I was worried about you, calmly retorted, paying the mare's deflective attitude no mind. Stepping forward, Peter placed his hoof over Applejack's shoulder, but she leaned away from his touch, responding with a bloodshot glare. Stallion's posture softened, but he kept his distance, respecting the blonde's need for personal space. I was told you ran off after you saw what happened to my Uncle Ben. Do you want to talk about it? Applejack closed her eyes and held her head high off to the side. Cursed with the element of honesty, she couldn't lie about her feelings. Just leave me alone, Plate! She said rather forcefully, voice cracking under her front. Her hoof tapped impatiently against the grass, picking up in speed and volume once Applejack realized the stallion hadn't moved a muscle. Gritting her teeth, the blonde shot a glare at the pony from the corner of her eye, before directing it to the starlit sky. What are you waiting for? Just go! Wavering voice threatened to betray her, revealing her already devastated resolve. She glanced away, whispering out a sob. Don't be stubborn. Pierre's gaze fell to the ground. Is it because you hate me for what I did? Hi! I'm a conclusion! I'm a person! Whee! Applejack's eyes open. She promptly faced the stallion. Unaware, a light gas escaped from her mouth. Indeed, a smile formed on Pierre's face. Can't blame you if that's the case. Heck, I still hate myself for it. Scratching his head, the stallion turned to leave. I'll leave you alone. Before he could make any progress, Applejack's hope fell over his own. Alright, plate? I could never hurt you. She wiped her tears, cursing under her breath. Mrs. Pierce succumbed to a relieved smile. Calming back her choked tears, the blonde struggled to gather her bearings. How does... She trailed off, finding the subject difficult to talk about directly. It's something about our mama. Were you thinking about your mom and dad? Applejack felt her heart stop. She placed her hoof over her chest, managing to breathe once his being resumed, albeit at a quicker pace. How do you know about my mom, Paul? She sought defensively, glaring at Pierre. Pierre sighed. I found out from Applebloom. He chuckled nervously, noticing he was sensing a sensitive subject of Applejack's. The best he could do was tread lightly. Applejack continued to scowl, causing the stallion to swallow involuntarily. It was during times like this that Pierre feared women, or bears in this case. I'm sure your sister told you how she and Babs adopted me as a brother, right? He continued after receiving a nod from the blonde. Well, when I told Applebloom the story about my uncle, she told me you went through something similar. It was something you never talked about with any pony. A gentle breeze blustered in plants, rustling their leaves. Pierre stared at Applejack as he directed her glare to the side. As a conflicting expression filled her features, her movement grew stiff. She was no different than a tree planted in the earth, unable to move or speak her mind. The mare kicked a pebble into the ground, frustration growing more and more evident by the second. Applejack didn't know whether to know to curse her big mouth sister, complaining about the stallion who wouldn't mind his own business, or he herself for not trusting any pony with this issue. Despite being the living embodiment of honesty, Applejack could only feel as if the truth was the most difficult thing to talk about, especially when the entire situation was her fault. Pierre reached down and placed his hoof on Applejack's shoulder for a second time once a friend-serrated tear slid down her freckled cheeks. The mare swatted himself away, scowling at the ground. Pierre nodded, pulling his mask from over his head. Applebloom didn't tell me the exact details of what happened to your parents, so I guess seeing my uncle triggered a memory you'll rather forget. She said you've always been the type to refuse help, even when you desperately need it. Your sister's pretty sharp. She figured out I was Spider-Man on her own, so I'm inclined to believe her when it comes to you. Her voice was stern but gentle, filled with affection. Applejack's face flushed, her snow-white freckles morphing to a shade of crimson as Pierre placed his hooves over her shoulder and made certain their gazes were fixed on each other. You saved me from drowning when we first met. I told you and Twilight about Gwen first. I want you to trust me too. Please, tell me what happened to your parents. Her resolve never faltered so rapidly, leaving Applejack at a loss for words. She begged to move on, but her heart couldn't forget that night. Her hooves fell over Pierre's limbs. Applejack's mind screamed for the mare to shut the stallion out. She managed to keep this to herself once the early stages of foalhood. Even if she didn't want to talk about her family about what happened, one tarnation made Pierre think she would even give him a second thought. This was her problem. However, as much as she pushed away from his hooves, Pierre remained in place. Applejack's strength abated her. Her head fell in a slump, perhaps out of shame, as her shoulders and hooves shivered profusely. A gentle breeze spread through the area, knocking Applejack's hat from her head. Once it fell to the ground between the Pierre, tears followed suit, pouring from the blonde's eyes. Applejack closed her eye, surrendering to the outpour of emotions. Pierre closed the gap, wrapping his hose around the mare's body. This was wrong. Her mind repeated those words even as Applejack saw into the stallion's chest, but her heart ached, confirmed the possibility that if any pony could understand, it was Pierre. She nuzzled further into his embrace, drinking in the warmth he provided. Applejack's mind chided itself, heeding how weak-willed she grew. I haven't told you anything, and I'm already crying, she sobbed, keeping her face buried in Pierre's solid chest. It was hard to describe, the sense of security she felt. Applejack felt her body temperature increase. She had never been in another stallion's host before, aside from her brother. This was different, immensely so. Her mind grew fuzzy. She could hardly think straight. And Peter, will you get your hose off of my mare? Eventually, she recollected her nerve and hesitantly parted from Peter. Although she took a seat next to him, her flanks were practically touching each other, but Applejack felt comfortable, not even caring that she was without her hat. Trying her childish behavior, she wiped her eyes and shook her head. I'm sorry, please. I don't even know where to start. Peter smiled. Go with what you feel is right. Applejack leaned over, allowing her head to rest on the stallion's shoulder. She remained quiet, as if contemplating where to start. Peter maintained his silence out of respect. But he couldn't help but notice how different Applejack appeared without her hat. Have she ever considered laying her mane down from its usual ponytail? Blonde would have favored Gwen more than she already did. You look beautiful without your hat, Peter whispered, seemingly slapping his own hoof in response. Why are we having a Twilight and Peter ship again? Applejack glanced off to the side, her face feeling hot due to the compliment. She continued to rest her head on Peter's shoulder, adding to her temperature increase. Ah, like a plate, she managed, feeling her lips curl into a smile for the first time in a while. She reached down for her hat, but slid it over to Stallion, prompting him to pick it up instead. Applejack brushed her hose through her mane. That heat used to belong to my mother. She used to wear it all the time when I was a filly. Sorry, go on. Peter recollected, his eyes wide. I'm sorry, Applejack. He brushed the strands of grass for a piece of attire, smiling sadly afterward. You still look cute without your hat, he added, hinting how this conversation was shaping. Fortunately, the mare's soft chuckling eased the stallion's mind, giving the indication she took no offense to his statement. Applejack kept her face away from Peter, knowing her blush was visible. It's okay, Plate. I still appreciate your compliment, the blonde sighed, the sight of her hat conjuring memories of old before sniffling. I miss my folks. Her voice chokes. I miss them so much. Wrapping himself around her shoulder, Peter gently pulled the mare closer. What happened? The blonde inhaled deeply. Sweet Apple Acres ain't so much different now than it was back then. Ma and Pa ran the ranch, while my brother did what he could to help them. Apple Bloom was just a baby at the time. But Granny Smith always watched over her whenever my parents were working. Applejack paused, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. As Peter quietly waited for her to continue, his ears perked at a peculiar sound. Low growls escaped the mare. Then there was me. I guess you could say I was right back then. I was lazy, spoiled, and worst of all, a liar. This must have been long before you became the element of honesty, right? I don't know where to be pissed that right now they're trying to do the whole let's make the elements even bigger and forget everybody's personality traits, or just enjoy the moment. Tilting his head to the side, Applejack shook her head. I don't even have my Coon mark yet. I guess that was just because I almost wanted nothing to do with Sweet Apple Acres. All my parents ever did was work. I just wanted to have fun. Her gaze fell to the ground shamefully. I can't tell you how many times I skipped down my chores. For the longest time, my brother always picked him up my slack around the barn. Then came that day when Blake McIntosh had enough. There was so much to do. Every tree in the field needed to be bucked. This meant all four of us had to lead a health from hoof. And I still found a way to complain. Awkward silence followed. The sound of a gentle breeze whispering through the vicinity. Applejack turned to Peter, simply nodded, gave her the luxury of continuing uninterrupted. Because I didn't pull my weight, a quarter of the acres are still undone. Mom and Pa told Big Mac to go eat. They wanted me to stay outside, at least try to buck a few trees. Applejack scoffed, standing abruptly from a persistent. Peter remained seated, keeping his hazel eyes stared on the mare, although her back was facing him. Could see her shoulders trembling. Why did I have to be so stupid? I should have listened to him. She threw a hoof over her eyes as a shield, but was for naught. Tears still rained. I was just so aggravated. I want my parents out of my fur. I promised them I would take care of the trees. They believed me and went inside to leave. Pierre made his way to his house. All he could do was give the mare a sympathetic look. Applejack. She would not let the stallion go any further. No! I lied to my parents! There ain't no excuse for it! Applejack's paces circled just a few hoof lengths from Pierre, all the while keeping her bloodshot eyes on the ground. I ran off into the Everfree Forest. My plan was to stay there and sneak into my room months later. Probably by land, somebody else would have bugged the trees. I ended up getting lost. That forest was nothing but mice. Before I knew it, a couple hours passed and it was nap time. I really was scared at that point. Suddenly, back at a few trees didn't seem like such a bad idea. It was late. My parents were worried sick. I came looking for me. Oh, Celestia, it's all my fault. Applejack's nerve crumbled, leaving the mare to morbidly sob, yet using every fiber of her willpower, she managed to press her through her tail. I didn't know what it was, but it looked like I was being chased by a bunch of fountains. They kept chasing me. No matter where I went, there they were. Her host struck the ground, progressively with more force. Right when I was cornered, Paul jumped out of the bushes and pushed me out of the way. Ma grabbed me. She led us away. Poor Paul was pulled away. I could still hear its voice, player. During a hair artillery here, Applejack shook her head madly. Run and don't look back! He kept screaming there. They didn't stop. I could hear my dad's voice in the mole. He was pulled to the forest by that thing! We tried to run, but those vines were catching up to us from all sides. It already took my power. Now they wanted me and my mom. She knew it too. Like water from a fall, Applejack's tears poured profusely. Even as Pierre's comforting hoof fell over her shoulder, the mare couldn't meet his gaze. Not yet. Ma threw me inside a rotten tree stump. I wanted to go with her, but she left me her head and placed something over the hole. All I remember her saying was, I love you. Those vines came back. They couldn't see me, but I could see them. Mom managed to lead him away from where I was. By the time I got free, Miles already gone. I couldn't find her anywhere. That's why I was worried when you ran off to the Everfree Forest. I thought you were going to disappear too. Pierre's eyes widened. Turning sharply on her hoof, Applejack found a strength to face Pierre. Her face stained heavily with tears. My parents would still be alive if I didn't lie to them! And I just pulled my way around the fire! Her words fell into her throat as Pierre's strong clothes wrapped around her head and body. Applejack promised to be strong for the rest of her life, for the sake of her family and the memory of her beloved parents. As Pierre stroked the mare's golden silky mane, she felt the foundation of that promise diminish. Applejack, for the first time in years, wanted to be weak, hang on to some point for support. Before she knew it, the blonde buried her face in Pierre's chest and sobbed, letting years of guilt and suppressed emotions free. Question, Vic, why are we doing the Twilight Imperatorship? This is so much better! The stallion straightened his embrace, refusing to let go, perhaps out of instinct. Applejack's hooves wrapped around Pierre's neck, allowing the mare to return this act of affection. They stayed like that for minutes, oblivious to the passage of time. Eventually, Applejack's emotions steadied, allowing her breathing to regulate and her tears to cease falling. Blonde pulled away, hesitated to remove her hooves from around the stallion's neck. But with a affirming nod, she managed to give Pierre a faint smile. You know, one of these days, I gotta do the reading of A World of Chaos, just to read the one fic in the history of me doing pony fics that I know where Applejack's parents are alive! You're one of the best ponies I've ever met, Applejack, Pierre honestly declared, earning a baffled and stunned look from the blonde. What darn lakes are you talking about? She shot back, voice wavering. Pierre's smile remained intact, and Applejack's resolve weakened in its effect, cueing her to glare off to the side with a sad tone in her eyes. I ain't no such thing. I have to put out there. Pierre's hoof reached over and brushed a few remnants of Mare's tears from her face, inadvertently causing her cheeks to gather heat. Oblivious, he continued to smile. You were just a kid when that happened, AJ. There's no way you could have known things would shape up the way they did. No pony, especially your parents, will hold anything against you. He sobered, placing his hands over Applejack's shoulders while bearing a serene expression. I'm sorry for what happened to your parents. I know exactly what you're going through. But I could easily say your parents would be proud of how well you turned out. Turning her head to the side, Applejack furrowed a brow at the stallion. Really? You think so? Nodding, Pierce smiled resurfaced. No question. You're a hard worker and a great role model. Seriously, your sister just wants to be like you when she grows up. You remind me of Gwen, but I really wish she was as level-headed as you were. Applejack blinked. Gwen, your old girlfriend, right? Pierre was silent for a moment. Yeah, you two look alike. You're equally beautiful, but, chastising himself, the stallion shook his head and waved his hoof dismissively. Sorry. Forget I said anything. Each statement was delivered with earnest. Elsie's cheeks grew hotter by the second. Found herself leaning on Pierre's words. When his hoof fell over her chest, her fur threatened to burst into flames. Evident by her crimson-stained cheeks, the stallion grinned that contagious laugh of his. You've matured into a beautiful, honest girl, Applejack. You're the element of honesty, after all. Your parents, family, and friends are all proud of you. I am too. His words were simple, and Applejack's heart blossomed, making it possible for the mare not to smile. She still missed her parents. The part of her never could forget her hoof and their deaths. Yet her shoulders felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. For years, the mere thought of her parents brought dread to her mind, matched by the guilt that filled the confines of her heart. Now it was different, widely so. It was like the old days on Sweet Apple Acres, whenever her father kissed the top of her forehead, or her mother gave her the warmest hugs. Again! Why Twilight? You are putting way more thought into this whole entire Applejack and Peter thing than you are the Twilight and Peter thing. There was no longer a desire to remember her parents in a negative light. Despite her running tears, Applejack wanted to bask in the love her mother and father gave her. Throwing her hoof over her eyes, the mare shuddered as she wiped her face clean. Peter gently placed Applejack's hat back on its primary position on the mare's golden crown. Her tears refused to stop falling. Faulty, the mare wanted to lower her hat to shield her eyes, but could not conceal her warm smile. Thanks, Plate. I'd like you to hear that, she chuckled, tapping his shoulder playfully. You're a silly pony, replied Steepman. I'm glad I fished you out of that lake. She wasn't sure how, but her body moved on its own, keeping her hat lowered. Applejack planted a kiss on the stallion's cheek before trying out of the courtyard. Flustered and embarrassed, Pierre scratched the back of his head. The moment the mare stopped in her tracks, he turned, finding Applejack giving a friendly wink. You're the best nephew an uncle could ask for, and the best friend a girl can have. The latter statement delivered to her a whisper, but Applejack galloped out of the courtyard before Pierre could hope to respond. See you at the coronation tomorrow! Once the mare was out of hearing range, Pierre chuckled sheepishly. It's just me, or am I getting a lot of best friends? Is it weird that they're all girls? Not that I'm complaining. Honestly, I'm not. I just think that at this rate, I might die of estrogen poisoning. His laughter subsided as Stallion groaned. How did I forget that the coronation is tomorrow? This feels like the longest day ever. This feels like the longest chapter ever! We're doing this for Twilight and the girls. Whatever it will be, will be. Shrugging, he reached to the side to mask his back over her head, knowing would no longer be needed after tomorrow. He placed it in the top portion of his costume. The stallion flipped it to the nearest wall and proceeded to scale the rooftops of the castle. After a brief journey, Pierre pushed the window to his room before leaping inside, closing it afterward. At some point, he cleared his throat behind his position, causing the stallion to turn sharply at the sound. Pierre sighed, finding Twilight stretched out across his bed. Woo! As he forced himself to front a plus-comforted mattress, Pierre scratched the back of his head, having forgotten that he gave the mare friend key to his bedroom. He took his costume off and tossed it to the open closet. Once Twilight was only a couple of hooflengths away from the stallion, she placed her mouth to stifle a yawn. Pierre grinned. You are so cute. Were you waiting for me? That's a good way to keep late hours. I just couldn't help it. I wanted to make sure you were okay before I went to sleep, she replied simply, glancing out to the side. The entire cast of memories were fresh in her mind, making it nearly impossible for the mare to think straight. There was so much she wanted to say, but at this point it seemed to have been fruitless in an attempt to erase the past. Twilight's host visited a place, pacing about, a proud lord, revealing a deep train of thought. Personally, Pierre seemed to have felt the Alicorn's uncertainty. Wrapping himself around her neck, Stallion pulled the mare into a warm embrace before kissing the top of his head. Twilight nuzzled to his grasp, burying her face in the crook of his neck. It was pathetic. There was only one thing to say, and for it by her entire state of emotion, I love you. Can we just up and get back to the peanut Applejack? She slammed her eyes shut and chastised herself. After everything Pierre had dealt with, those simple words were the best she could offer. No wonder she fell trustfully and under love and basis of relationships. However, Pierre placed himself under Twilight's chin and lifted her muzzle, allowing his lips to meet hers. They remained like that for minutes, drinking each other in. They eventually parted, yearning to feel their lungs. Twilight's eyes flared open, softening as they lighted up Pierre's genuine smile. Her words, spoken from the heart, held so much meaning. Pierre tightened his grip on the mare, whispered sweet nothings into her ears, earning content sighs for his efforts. The pair found their way to bed, all the while keeping a sound grip on each other. As they cuddled, nuzzling to each other to find the greatest comfort possible, Twilight smiled inwardly. Love was so simple and was complicated, but she was content, knowing she brought Pierre some form of happiness. For long, the stallion surrendered to the reaches of unconsciousness. It's something else if you know what I mean. Soft, resonant breathing gave that indication. Twilight remained awake, refusing to remove hose from around his body. She would fulfill her own personal promise and not let her go to the man she loved. Her impending status as princess would never change that. Nothing would. Twilight slowly opened her eyes, bringing her heart over her throbbing cranium. She attempted to stand, but her host bucked as a sharp bolt coursed through one of her wings. An explosion erupted several hoof lengths beneath her. With the little strength he had left, Twilight crawled to the edge of the building floor. Recoiled, yelping into sight she found. Osborne, in his grotesque monstrous form, roared before sprinting across the room, shattering Canes' pretentious shield with a single punch. The force of the blow sent the pink alicorn flying into the wall. Now, some of you might be wondering why I'm not mad. Simple nightmare. Luna appeared behind the monster in a flash of light, but Goblin grabbed her by the neck before she could attack. Celestia howled, blasting the monster several times in the back with magical bolts. But he remained undeterred, throwing Luna directly into her sister. Both alicorns bounced across the room, skidding to a halt respectively. Twilight's eyes shot open. Osborne's fury was unmatched, rivaled only by the flame spread throughout the building. She watched helplessly as Goblin stomped across the room, walking past the alicorns he had dealt with. Once the monster stopped in its tracks, where a prone individual laid, the mare begged to scream. Without his mask and his human form, Pierre stared at the attacker with a gaze in his hazel eyes. Like a predator ready to fist his prey, Osborne knelt down over Spider-Man, figure overstaring Pierre deservedly. Time to die, Parker! He growled, allowing a wicked smile to form his face. Twilight! Pierre's voice called out, ending the vision and bringing Twilight back to the plains of reality. She awoke with a stir, breathing erratic. Twilight's eyes shifted, gathering she was in Pierre's bedroom. Her pressed over her forehead, wiping away the perspiration that formed before wrapping around the stallion's neck, strangling him. Twilight sighed. A dream. It was only a dream. Yet the mare couldn't break herself to let Pierre grow. Clinging with a fear that was losing of what she held closest, the stallion offered no resistance, using his host to pull the mare's body closer to his. Very bad dream, huh? Pierre whispered, guiding his host through Twilight's silky mane. Twilight only nodded, keeping her face buried in her lover's chest. Yes, but I'm fine now, she lied, tightening her grip. Once Pierre mirrored her accents, she shuddered, letting out what sounded like a sob. Pierre furrowed his brow as his chest grew wet, but his eyes softened once the mare whimpered. Just don't let me go, please. He obliged, nuzzling his mare with the utmost care. Like before, Pierre was the first to fall asleep, but Twilight's mare refused to yield to his consciousness. At least for a moment, the dream was so lifelike, as if it were real. The conclusion shook her to her very cold, impaling her sensitive heart. Eventually, Twilight joined Pierre in a peaceful slumber, all the while staying to his host. It was most unnerving, for this was not the first time she had this dream. Flip the dream! I want more Applejack, darn it! I don't believe this. I finally found a chapter. I'm not screaming my head off that! We did it! Now to be disappointed.